What if I told you there's a group of people living right here in the U.S., and they don't rely on grocery stores to feed their families? In fact, they don't even shop for food the way most of us do. Instead, they have their own unique system, one that's been passed down through generations. Imagine growing all your own food, raising your own animals, and even making your own bread from scratch. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, for the Amish, it's a reality. Stick around and you'll be amazed at how this community survives, without the conveniences we take for granted every single day. It's pretty wild when you think about it. We're all so used to walking into a store, swiping a card, and getting everything we need in minutes. For the Amish, though, this is a whole different world. They've created a lifestyle that revolves around self-sufficiency, hard work, and a deep connection to the land. But it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving and doing so in a way that's sustainable, intentional, and family-focused. But how does all of this work? How does a family of Amish farmers make sure there's enough food on the table all year long without running to Walmart every week? It's pretty fascinating, and I promise you, there's more to it than just planting crops. So let's dive in. 1. Living off the land. The Amish farming method. While most of us might be running to the grocery store to stock up on produce, the Amish take a much more sustainable and hands-on approach. It's not just about having fresh food in the moment. It's about ensuring they have enough food year-round. And that starts with the careful planning and cultivation of their land. What's fascinating is the level of detail Amish farmers put into each growing season. They're not just planting crops on a whim. The growing season is mapped out meticulously. They're constantly thinking ahead, making sure they have enough food for the coming months, especially as winter approaches. The Amish know that the success of their crops directly impacts their ability to feed their families through the harsher months. In many cases, this means they grow multiple varieties of the same vegetable. Corn, for example, might be grown for both eating fresh and for storage. In addition to the typical garden vegetables you might expect, the Amish often grow lesser-known crops, things like sweet potatoes, various types of squash, and heirloom varieties of tomatoes that have been passed down in families for generations. The cool part is that they don't just stick to basic crops. They're innovative, even within the constraints of their traditional farming methods. They know what their soil needs and adjust accordingly. Their land isn't just fertile ground, it's a carefully nurtured resource. Amish families also make use of crop rotation, a practice that's been around for centuries and prevents the soil from getting depleted. By rotating which crops are planted in each section of the farm, they keep the soil rich and healthy. This also helps them maintain the biodiversity of their land, which in turn supports a more sustainable farming system. Another aspect worth noting is how deeply connected the Amish are to the seasons. They live by them. There's a rhythm to everything they do, from when the fields are plowed in spring to when crops are harvested in the fall. It's a kind of patience we don't often see in our fast-paced modern world. The Amish understand that nature is in charge. They don't rush things, and they work with it rather than against it. Their commitment to sustainability and understanding of the land is truly the backbone of how they feed their families, making it a way of life that's both impressive and essential. All this careful preparation ensures that when winter comes, they have everything they need. No panic trips to the store. Instead, the Amish trust in the work they've done and the bounty of their land. It's an incredible example of a lifestyle built on long-term thinking and self-reliance. 2. Preserving food for winter. When you're used to heading to the store to grab whatever you need at a moment's notice, the idea of storing food for the long haul might feel a bit foreign. But for the Amish, this isn't just something they do out of necessity. It's an art form, one that's passed down through generations. Preserving food isn't a backup plan, it's a lifestyle. They understand that the abundance of summer doesn't last forever, so they prepare their pantry long before the first frost hits. Canning is one of the most famous methods they use, and if you've ever seen a row of mason jars stacked up on wooden shelves, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's not just about storing fruits and vegetables. It's about having a variety of food that'll be ready to eat when the weather turns cold and the ground's too hard to dig in. The Amish often preserve the harvest in jars. Think of fruits like peaches, cherries, or pears, or vegetables like green beans, carrots, and sweet corn. They even can meat like chicken, beef, and pork, turning them into savory stews or broths that can be easily reheated later. But why do they can so much? It's because canned foods become a resource that's easily stored and lasts through the winter. In a world where we take refrigeration for granted, the Amish are working with timeless methods that keep their food safe, flavorful, and ready to eat. The jars they fill become like little time capsules that hold the taste of summer well into the bleakest winter days. You can bet that an Amish pantry stacked with jars is like an emergency supply kit, but one that's packed with homemade goodness. Let's not forget the drying process, another favorite Amish preservation method. Drying fruits, like apples, peaches, and cherries, turns them into a sweet, chewy treat that's perfect for snacking or adding to other dishes. But it's not just fruits they dry. They'll hang herbs like thyme, basil, and sage to keep their flavors concentrated and ready to use in cooking. Drying also works wonders for meats, especially when it comes to making jerky. This method ensures that proteins, which might otherwise spoil without refrigeration, can be kept for months without any worries. Now let's dive deeper into pickling. Pickled foods aren't just a side dish in Amish homes, they're essential. The Amish pickle everything from cucumbers to cabbage, carrots to peppers. It's a preserving technique that allows them to stretch the use of crops that might otherwise spoil before they're eaten. Pickling also adds a tangy kick to any meal. You'll find homemade pickles in large glass jars or wooden barrels, stacked high and ready to go. It's a huge deal in Amish households, and some families even have secret pickling recipes that have been passed down through generations. It's not just about making food last. It's about preserving the flavors of their land and their hard work. What's particularly amazing about all of these methods is how the Amish don't just use them for themselves. They're also part of a culture of sharing and trade. If one family ends up with an overabundance of pickles, they might trade them for something else. Maybe some fresh eggs or a loaf of homemade bread. This sense of interdependence means that everyone is covered when the cold months arrive. By the time winter rolls around, the Amish are ready, not just to survive, but to thrive with an abundance of food that's been carefully prepared and lovingly stored. 3. The livestock factor, raising animals for food. When we think about food, we often focus solely on crops, fruits, vegetables, and grains. But for the Amish, livestock are just as integral to their food security. Raising animals isn't just a way to supplement their diet. It's a crucial part of their self-sufficiency. It's no surprise that dairy is at the heart of Amish farming. Many Amish families will have a few cows, and these cows don't just provide milk. They're often the lifeblood of the farm. The fresh milk from these cows isn't just something they drink. It's used to make a variety of products that are staples in their homes. Butter, cheese, and yogurt are all made right on the farm. Picture this: a hand-churned batch of butter to spread on homemade bread, or fresh mozzarella made from milk produced by the very cows that graze on the pasture outside. There's no supermarket milk here, no factory processing. It's as fresh as it gets, and it's all produced with love and care. The Amish also understand that dairy isn't just about consumption, it's about sustainability. By making their own butter, cheese, and other dairy products, they avoid the need to buy these items at the store. It's a way of life that's deeply embedded in their values of self-reliance. Plus, with cows providing a steady supply of milk, These products are available year-round, ensuring they never run out of their most essential foods. But dairy isn't the only thing Amish farmers are concerned with. Chickens are another key player in their food system. Each farm will have its own flock of chickens, kept busy with laying eggs daily. This means the Amish don't have to rely on store-bought eggs. They've got them fresh every morning. And not just for breakfast. Eggs are an important ingredient for a wide range of meals, from baking cakes and pies to making homemade noodles or custards. And because the Amish raise their chickens on pasture, they're not just getting eggs. They're also raising healthy, happy animals, which gives them a better product overall. When we move on to other types of livestock, things get even more interesting. Pigs and goats are another staple on many Amish farms. Pigs are particularly important because they provide a valuable source of protein for the family. They're raised in a natural, old-fashioned way, free-range and pasture-fed. Pigs, unlike factory-farmed animals, get to live in conditions that allow them to roam, root around, and eat a natural diet, which means their meat is flavorful and healthier. It's a stark contrast to the mass-produced pork you might find in stores today. Goats, too, are an essential part of the farm. While not every Amish family raises goats, those that do benefit from the animals in multiple ways. Goats can provide milk, which can be turned into cheese and meat, but they also serve another function on the farm. Goats and sheep are great for clearing brush and keeping pastures healthy, which helps maintain the farm's sustainability. And let's not forget about the wool sheep provide, which can be spun into yarn for homemade clothing or blankets. The beauty of the Amish farming system is how everything works together. It minimizes waste and maximizes the value of every animal. And for the Amish, it's all about keeping things as natural and self-sufficient as possible. They don't have to worry about factory farms, mass-produced meats, or the ethical concerns that come with industrial farming. Their animals live in a way that aligns with their values: free-range, healthy, and cared for. In addition to the basics, meat, milk, eggs, livestock also play a key role in providing manure for the farm. That's right, the manure from these animals is used as natural fertilizer, which helps grow more crops. It's a beautiful cycle that underscores how the Amish approach farming with a deep sense of respect for nature. So when you consider the way the Amish raise animals, it's clear that their focus isn't just on feeding their families for today, but ensuring that they can feed themselves for years to come without any visit to the grocery store. 4. The power of home-baked goods. Let's dive deeper into the heartwarming world of Amish baking. When we think of baked goods, the image of a quick store-bought loaf or a batch of cookies might come to mind. But for the Amish, baking is so much more than just feeding the family. It's a ritual, an expression of love, and a way of life. There's something incredibly special about the way they approach baking that's rooted in tradition, family, and community. And yes, that delicious aroma of fresh baked bread, it's all part of the experience. One of the most iconic features of Amish kitchens is the constant presence of freshly baked bread. For Amish families, bread isn't just a side dish or a snack. It's the foundation of their meals. Whether it's served with homemade soup, paired with butter and jam, or used to make sandwiches for lunch, bread is an essential part of daily life. You'll often see multiple large loaves of bread cooling on countertops or tucked away in bread boxes, ready to be sliced and enjoyed. And we're talking about loaves that could easily feed a small army. Each loaf is dense, hearty, and full of flavor, made with just a few simple ingredients, but crafted with care and expertise. Amish bread isn't made with store-bought mixes or shortcuts. They rely on traditional recipes and time-tested methods. The bread dough is kneaded by hand, ensuring it's smooth and ready to rise. The bread is then baked in large, heavy-duty ovens that give it that perfect golden brown crust. The result? a satisfying loaf that's both soft on the inside and crunchy on the outside. But the love for baking doesn't end with bread. Amish families are also known for their incredible pies, cakes, and pastries. Imagine a table full of homemade apple pie, peach cobbler, or blueberry muffins. The Amish take their desserts seriously, using fruits and ingredients from their own land to create pies that are as much a part of their culture as their farming practices. Pies are often made for special occasions, but they're also an everyday treat, enjoyed with a cup of coffee or tea after a long day of hard work. Cake making is another skill that Amish women pride themselves on. Whether it's a rich, spiced carrot cake or a simple pound cake, Amish cakes are made from scratch with fresh eggs, butter, and flour, making them so much more satisfying than the boxed versions we may be used to. For the Amish, cake isn't just a dessert. It's an expression of hospitality and generosity. Often, a freshly baked cake or pie will be shared with neighbors or brought to church events. Jam making is just as important in Amish kitchens, and it ties into their overall commitment to using what's available from their land. During the summer, when fruits like strawberries, raspberries, and peaches are in abundance, Amish families make homemade jams and jellies. These jams are used in countless ways, spread on a thick slice of bread, stirred into oatmeal, or served as a topping for pies. The process of making jam is almost like an art form, as each batch is carefully prepared, sealed, and stored in glass jars to enjoy during the colder months. But there's also something magical about the way these baked goods bring the Amish community together. You won't find any mass-produced bread or store-bought treats at an Amish gathering. Whether it's a Sunday meal, a family celebration, or a community event, homemade baked goods are always present. This shared experience of breaking bread together creates bonds that are built on love and a deep sense of tradition. In fact, food often becomes a bridge between families, offering a way to share not just sustenance, but stories, laughter, and memories. There's a certain beauty in the simplicity of their approach to baking. Take what you have, use your hands, and make something that will nourish both body and soul. 5. The role of non-Amish stores. Despite their deep commitment to simplicity and self-sufficiency, the Amish are not entirely disconnected from the modern world, particularly when it comes to certain essential needs. While you won't find them in supermarkets picking up prepackaged meals or processed snacks, the Amish do make occasional trips to non-Amish stores for items they cannot grow, harvest, or produce on their own. These trips, however, are carefully planned, intentional, and focused solely on the essentials. The Amish are largely self-sufficient in food production, yet some necessities are difficult or impossible to produce on the farm. Ingredients such as sugar, flour, rice, spices, and certain cooking oils are bought in bulk from non-Amish stores. They often purchase these goods in large quantities to stock up for the months ahead, ensuring they are prepared for seasonal needs without frequent trips to town. This is an efficient and practical method of maintaining their lifestyle. However, their trips are not about seeking convenience. For instance, while they will buy flour, they will never purchase pre-made bread or cake mixes. The goal is always to obtain raw materials that allow them to make everything from scratch, staying true to their values of simplicity. They avoid purchasing anything that requires electricity or modern appliances, which means no frozen meals, no microwavable foods, and certainly no processed snacks. An interesting aspect of the Amish shopping habits is the selectiveness with which they make these trips. Unlike the weekly shopping routines many are accustomed to, most Amish families will make a trip to town only a few times a month or even less frequently. Their shopping trips are typically scheduled according to seasonal needs or specific household requirements. For example, during harvest time, they might visit the store to buy canning supplies or jars for preserving vegetables and fruits. In winter, when fresh produce is scarce, they may restock on bulk items such as grains or flour. This approach isn't about stockpiling out of fear of running out of food. It's a strategy rooted in efficiency resourcefulness, and careful planning. By purchasing in bulk, they reduce the need for frequent visits to town, limiting exposure to the distractions and bustle of modern life. This minimizes their interaction with the modern world, allowing them to maintain a more focused, peaceful existence. In addition to food, the Amish occasionally visit non-Amish stores for non-food-related items that are difficult to make or acquire on the farm. This includes fabric for clothing, specialty tools for farming, or materials needed for construction and home maintenance. While the Amish are known for their skills in making and mending their own clothes, tools, and furniture, they sometimes require specific, high-quality materials that can only be found in non-Amish stores. This allows them to continue their craftsmanship while remaining self-reliant. A key principle that underpins these trips is the Amish aim to minimize reliance on external sources. They visit non-Amish stores out of necessity, not convenience. It's a delicate balance. They use modern tools and materials, but only to support their larger goal of self-sufficiency. Their visits to these stores do not represent a rejection of their traditions, but rather a selective engagement with the broader world. They take advantage of what the modern world offers in a way that supports their values without compromising their core beliefs. Interestingly, many Amish also run businesses that cater to both Amish and non-Amish customers. These businesses, usually small-scale and family-run, include bakeries, woodworking shops, and produce stands, all of which are extensions of their agricultural and craftsmanship skills. While these businesses are not profit-driven in the same way large commercial enterprises are, they allow the Amish to engage in commerce in a way that aligns with their values of hard work and community. Their trips to non-Amish stores reflect their ongoing effort to maintain a balance between self-sufficiency and utilizing useful resources from the wider world. In doing so, the Amish demonstrate a resourcefulness that allows them to live simply while embracing the tools that help them preserve their way of life. The key takeaway? The Amish are both practical and open-minded, skillfully navigating the intersection of simplicity and necessity. It's pretty incredible when you think about it, right? The Amish live in a way that most of us have forgotten how to do. They've built a lifestyle based on community, self-reliance, and sustainability. Whether it's growing their own food, raising animals, baking fresh bread, or preserving food for winter, the Amish have found ways to feed their families without relying on grocery stores. And honestly, there's a lot we can learn from them. Maybe not the horse-drawn plows, but the idea of slowing down, being intentional with our resources, and coming together as a community. That's something we could all use a little more of. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive into Amish life. Who knows? Maybe the next time you see a loaf of homemade bread or a jar of pickles, you'll think about all the hard work and love that went into making it. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on new uploads.